Now, May 21st is nearly here. This is it, as they say. On May 21st at the fabulous O2, a couple of fights will take place. Special fights. I mean, the WBO light heavyweight championship, Jürgen Brähmer from Germany defends his title against unbeaten Welshman Nathan Cleverly. This is a real world title fight in any era, trust me. But it's not, in my opinion, the main attraction, because that is James DeGale defending his British super-middleweight title against his bitter, and I mean bitter rival, George Groves, the Commonwealth champion. What a fight. Both young, both unbeaten, both former ABA middleweight champions, both from the legendary Dow Youth Club. What a shared history. Absolutely fantastic. What a fight it will be. Anyway, the man promoting the fight is Frank Warren, and I'm delighted to say that Frank joins me now. Good evening, Frank.
Good evening, Steve.
How are you? Well, you finally got it. With it's going to happen now. 8 or 9 days away. Of all the fights you put together, Frank, is this a top 10 for difficult to get to the ring?
Yeah, it was a lot. There was a lot of problems. It went out to purse bids and Haymaker, Adam Booth. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't Adam Booth. It was Adam Booth's matchmaker,
Dave Coldwell.
Yes, who won the purse bid and couldn't come up with a venue and
I think we just lost Frank Warren there. That's not a problem, but I'm delighted to say we can get Frank back on the line now. Go on, Frank. You were just saying that it was difficult, a bit tricky.
It was difficult, but we got it together at the end. It was, as I say, I took over the fight and put it together with Nathan and Brähmer fight. And I think we've got a fabulous bill. We've got a good undercard. There's 14 fights on the show, including a good little domestic match between Frankie Gavin and young Muttley. But,
former champion. Frank, how many fights do you think you're going to get on pay-per-view? I mean, because there's been a lot, with the fiasco surrounding the Khan fight, there's a little bit of added pressure on pay-per-view events here. What do you think? What do you think the pay-per-view customers will get, fight-wise?
Well, fight-wise, they'll get a minimum of three, and probably more than that.
Fantastic.
And the fiasco has been, and I'm going to say it because I would say it, I'm a promoter, but when you get fighters promoting their own shows, they're not interested in any shape or form investing in decent undercards. The last few pay-per-view shows that I've done have been absolute great value for the fans. Have been some seriously good championship fights on.
All you need on a pay-per-view is a bit of depth in case things go short, and you need to give people. It's as you say, it's a simple rule that you followed, and it's quite straightforward, really, isn't it? To be honest with you.
Well, of course it is. I mean, you look when we had a fight forced on us, a mandatory defence of Amir Khan, and he fought a guy called Salita.
Yes, 70-odd seconds.
Should never have been in the number one position, and I felt that that could go 2 or 3 rounds. In fact, it went 1 round, and it's one of the fallings out that I had with the Khans because I wanted a beef up the undercard, which I did. I think we had Kevin Mitchell, Bradis Prescott.
Brilliant fight, 10 brilliant rounds.
And some other good fights on there, and that saved the night, and I felt gave the fans some value for money. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
It is really what it's all about. Frank, any of you young Irish kids? You signed a couple of young Irish kids, haven't you? Stephen Allman and Dean Byrne. They on this bill by any chance? Do you know? The young Irish kids. One of them is.
Yeah, one of them's on there. I did that with Steve Collins.
Yeah,
so
makes
sense.
One of
them on there, and now, but we've got some good things coming up in the future. We've got 2 good shows coming up in July, so you'll see both of them on those shows.
Now, getting back to DeGale and Groves, Frank, and I've been banging the drum for about 3 weeks non-stop about this because it's got something special. And I know you promoted bigger fights. I've been ringside with you at bigger fights, but this ticks other boxes. That idea of you from both being unbeaten with a great backstory. It's all very well having 2 fighters who don't like each other, but these two, that backstory is sensational. Have you ever promoted one with this much history between the 2 boxers, do you think?
No, it's not. I mean, you go back, you look at like Ben and Eubank, you look at Mark Kaler and Errol Christie, Roy Gums, Eric and Mark Kaler. None of that had amateur aggravation or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, call it that,
It's something that's gone back over the years, long before I got involved with James.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there is genuine dislike between the 2 of them. And, the pot's been boiling, and now the fight's going to happen. It may be happening sooner than people would have liked it to happen, but
I'm one of them,
it is on.
Yeah. And
the Boxing Board of Control called for the fight. There's no way that James wanted to duck out defending his title, so we are where we are, and probably the beneficiaries of this will be the fans.
Oh, no problem involved. Frank, just briefly before I let you go, and thanks for your time. What was that world title fight story about James or you and him possibly having a chance of putting him in for a world title fight? How serious was that?
It was very, very serious, and we were very close to doing it, and it just sort of half fell. It was falling apart a little bit, and then the border control ordered the fight against George Groves.
To take it.
He didn't want, he didn't want to pull out of it, and I didn't want him to pull out of it, by the way. But so we just put it on the back burner. What people could forget was it James Narrett? This is his 10th fight.
10th fight. I know we keep forgetting that. Would you have let him take the world title fight?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep. The opponent. I'm not going to go into who the opponent was.
Of course not. I'm not going to ask you.
I felt that he would have been. I felt there's a fight that he could win, and I've got a lot of confidence in him. I think he's an exceptional fighter, and hopefully that's going to be the case next week.
How are we looking next week for the weigh-in, Frank? Can we have a public weigh-in? Because this is going to generate a bit of excitement.
It is a public weigh-in. It's at the O2 in the Indigo.
The nightclub, the club.
The nightclub type of theatre. So it'll be there. The public are welcome.
And that's next Friday.
That's next Friday.
Okay, and are we thinking about a good house, a packed house, or just a really good house next week? Because it's a big arena. That's what I'm talking. This is not your call.
It's a big arena. There are a few tickets left.
Good.
We've probably got about 1,500 tickets left. We've got 10 days to go. So grab the tickets quickly because I think they'll all be gone by the end of next week.
All right, Frank. Well, that's just about it. We're covered. Sounds
good.
We've ticked every box. We've ticked every base. I'll see you at the head-to-head next Thursday and at the weigh-in on a Friday.
Lovely. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Frank. I'll speak to you next week. Frank Warren there joining us just briefly, going over ticking boxes. You see that? Because I'm sure he thought I was going to ask him who the champion was. I wasn't going to ask him what champion it was. I knew he wasn't going to tell me. And I don't like getting rejected by people have on the show, so that was perfect. I didn't ask him. He didn't tell me. I didn't need to know.